This demonstration will walk you through filling out the Workflow's Excel spreadsheet. We're going to look at the workflow for business associate agreements. Once you have filled out a workflow for one list, you will be able to fill out the workflows for other lists following the same thought process. You don't have to fill out a section if you know you will not be using the corresponding list. However, it is recommended that you do in case you ever decide to use that list. You'll see the spreadsheet right here has the names of the lists in bold and the items or the questions that need to determine the workflows for that list. So the first question or item in every section or every list is going to be, does your agency wish to have an automated workflow monitor your compliance program in this area? And we will type in the column next to it, yes. If you were to type no, you wouldn't need to fill out any of the items underneath that list. So let's get a look over at the diagram. And this is the workflow for the business associates agreement in diagram form. And at the top, there are three scenarios that would cause the business associate agreements to be marked as pending. One of the scenarios, application identifies business associate agreements that expire within the next 90 days. So, corresponding to the Excel spreadsheet in that second question, the number of days prior to expiration date to automatically notify a program reviewer that an existing business associate agreement requires review and/or renewal. So you need to decide here how many days prior to expiration that you want to give notification. So we'll just say 90, just so you can follow along with the diagram that we have. Once the program reviewer receives notification that he or she needs to decide if the business associates agreement needs to be reviewed, you have to decide how many days they have to make that decision. And right here, where it says action within 30 days, is about how many days do they have to decide if the business associate agreement needs to be reviewed. And it says 30. So we will look at our Excel spreadsheet, which is basically the same question, and we will say they need 30 days to make that decision of whether it needs to be reviewed or not. Not made within 30 days, they will get notification that the recommendation is past due. How many days do you want to give them to make the decision before the regulatory compliance officer is notified? Where it says action required within 15 additional days corresponds to the fourth question on this sheet. So we will go ahead and say they need 15 more days. And we'll just work our way down back to the diagram to get an idea of what is happening. From that point, how many days do you want to give the reviewer to make the decision before the Chief Executive Officer is notified of non-compliance? Where it says action within 5 additional days, it corresponds to question number 5 on the Excel spreadsheet. And we will put 5 days. So once it's determined that a renewal is necessary, you see this part A right here, the reviewer needs to prepare a new or revised business associate agreement to be prepared and distributed for signature by the business associate agreement. And where you can see done within 10 days. This will correspond to right here, this number 6. So prepared and distributed for signature by business associate, we will say 10. The 7th item, once a business associate agreement has been distributed to the business associate for signature, how many days do you want the business associate to be returned before sending them an email reminder? And this will correspond over on the diagram to received back in 30 days, because here the business associate agreement has been distributed for signature, and if it hasn't been back within how many days, as we're going to put in to the spreadsheet, then they will get an email reminder. So right here we'll do 30 days. The 8th item, once a reminder notice has been sent to business associate, allow how many days before notifying regulatory compliance office that the return of the executed business associate agreement is past due. So again, we'll look back at our diagram, and right here it says 15 received within 15 days. So how many days do you want to give them there before your compliance office is notified? So we'll say 15. And finally, once the regulatory compliance office has been notified that the return of the executed business associate agreement is past due, how many additional days for the receipt prior to notifying the Chief Executive Officer that the business associate agreement remains in past due status, despite reminders. And again, right here, giving them another 10 days before you notify CEO of non-compliance. So we'll just put that 10 days in here. So what you can see is I just went along with the diagram to put the same numbers in there so it was easier to follow. But you can change those numbers to whatever you may need. So that covers the workflows for business associate agreements. Once you complete one list workflows, you can follow the same logic to fill out the workflows for other lists. You can find a blank workflow spreadsheet and the workflow diagrams in the resource section of this course. So the next section of this course will cover populating lists and libraries on the Compliance Resource Center.